Okay, welcome to everyone who's live here with me and Myra Lewin from Halepule. Welcome as well to the people watching on the replay. So it's been a while, Myra, that we had our conversation for the podcast, The Colours of Womanhood. But in that conversation, you touched upon a few very important things, and one might sound maybe a bit shocking, if not provocative, for women. But you mentioned in one that it's important for women to start stepping out of their victimhood, their victim role as such. Um, so how do you envisage that for women to step out of the victimhood without denying basically harm that's really been done, harm that's no, it's societal, through other people.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, when there's harm been done, then we need to heal, but we don't heal by focusing on the harm done. We heal by focusing and looking forward and seeing what's possible and who are we and what can we how can we best thrive. So there are many things that have happened with humanity over a long period of time, and some more near term. But again, it's where we focus our energy. It's where our attention is where the energy goes. And so the main focus needs to be on how can I allow the all the wonderful things about having a female body, about being a woman. Because if we don't speak up, if we're always in victim mode, then nothing is going to change. It'll probably only get worse. But when we recognize, that there is masculine and feminine energy in all of us, men and women, but we have a little more of the feminine energy, and we need to utilize that and understand it. But in terms of our cycles in that, surely there are external circumstances that have contributed to that imbalance. But again, regardless of where those problems may have come from, it's still up to us to resolve them. So when I think about uh, Mo, why do we have the hormone imbalances? Why do we have inequality? In my early days, I was very focused on the inequality in the workplace because it was extreme at that point, and and really what we just wanted was the choice, and that and then perhaps we swung the other way, because we started to run more masculine energy in order to do that. All of those things took us away from our natural cycles and for the power that it is to be a woman. And that can be used in many environments. It can be, when I say used, I mean it can be expressed in many environments. So, but these days, it seems like just we need to make sure that in this rediscovery, we'll say, of our feminine nature, and what I'd say is the power of creativity, the power to create. Yeah, that's the vibration that makes us different than men, and it's a very powerful situation, and it's one that is meant to be, though, in complement with the men. And so
I think
go ahead. Yeah.
I just want to say, I think with everything that you're saying here, if I think women should listen to this just every day to remind themselves, because I mean that could bring such a big shift, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's important to me because, like I said, in my early days, about 50 to 60 years ago, I had a lot of energy toward that equality. But the equality needs to come within us first. I need to see myself and understand myself. And that's one of the great things of what's happening with women these days, is to actually start understand the natural cycle. In my early days, it was like, oh, you're going to get this menstruation thing and you can get pregnant, and that was it. And most people didn't understand that it had anything to do with the cycle of the moon or anything like that. So there's a lot of really wonderful things, but we just need to recognize nature,
Hmm.
and to focus on how can I be in harmony with nature. It's not going to be, we don't have to be rigid or perfect about any of it, but we can just see, it's an exploration life. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
So
let's explore. Hmm.
would that be your first kind of, or your advice as a kind of first small step for women to take?
Yes, it would be to make sure that you understand what's happening when you go through puberty and menstruation and menopause, and that those things aren't meant to be painful, uncomfortable, horrible things. Not at all. They should be the opposite. Yeah, there's a and where most of the effect is not so much physically, more so in puberty actually, but it
Mm.
shouldn't be all this physical impact. But that there is a shifts in our emotions and that come with that. But it's not this. it's
Mm.
it should be this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we understand it, then we work with it instead of
Yes.
being in resistance.
Okay, so like if we're talking about a victimhood, and if women feel that they, especially listening now to you, and they can recognize that they're actually in that, and that's what they're putting a lot of energy towards, what could they start doing, even something small, to start stepping out of that?
I think one of the first things to step out of that, if you're a menstruating woman, is to start to follow the cycle of the moon. The other thing is to just to note the sunrise and the sunset each day. Anybody can do that, and it's just something that it takes a minute, twice a day, and that will begin to make a difference in how you feel, and
Okay.
that to recognize we're part of it.
Yeah, that's what has been missing a lot, right? And so that's
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's a beautiful one to indeed also have your eyes on that, with with the sunrise and with the
Mm-hmm.
sunset. Yes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you've already talked about the menstrual cycle, and you mentioned, with the cyclical living that's all happening, on how women eat for different phases.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but in our conversation, in our podcast, you mentioned that balanced living basically kind of gets, you don't need all those rules, right, for having a good menstruation. So could you mention one popular rule about cyclical living that you really want to say, or just really stop doing that?
Okay. Something that I would suggest that you stop doing is actually making large changes in your diet through the course of the month. Yeah, because your agni, your digestive capacity, and your body really don't appreciate that at all. So there's those. We're much better off by making changes through the season, or and not having food that's not seasonal. But in order to have balance in the system, we need to bring balance to the system. And when people are changing their food dramatically through the course of the cycle, there's too much focus on trying to look at it as a linear project. And we're not linear, we're dynamic, we're holistic. It means everything affects everything else. So the changes that come would be very subtle
Mm.
and not any. When things are balanced, then it would be more, I'd be tuning into the weather, because the weather is going to have a bigger effect. You see,
Mm.
but if I'm not having, a regular schedule of eating and sleeping, I'm doing all kinds of things that cause the imbalance. Well, I can torture myself with a
Mm.
lot of rules in that, but it's not going to solve the problem. And the idea would be to get rid of the problem. And
Mm.
so that's where having that regular schedule of eating and sleeping is going to make a big difference. And then see, where am I causing these imbalances?
Mm. Mm. And that's really the foundation of of Ayurveda, right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
correct. Yes, yeah. We have to remove the cause of the problem, otherwise, it'll stay there or it'll go somewhere else and cause a problem.
Mm. Okay. Thank you so much, Myra, these highlights of our podcast conversation. So the episode is going live today.
Okay.
Yes, I'll obviously share the link. So for anyone who would like to be in touch with Myra, you can follow her on Halepule on Instagram.
Mhm.
And you, I mean, all these, I said it to you before, you're so authentic and wise, and I always love listening to you and integrating what you're sharing. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. Thank you for having me.
You too. Take care.